Assalamu alaikum dear friends and my dear students, welcome back to top lesson for you. Friends, as you know that we are discussing about the human skeleton and its divisions. In the previous lecture I have discussed about the divisions of your axial skeleton. What is axial skeleton? We had told you about that. And axial skeleton is divided into three subparts: the head, the thoracic cage and the vertebral column. And the head is divided into cranium and face. And what are those bones which are present in your axial skeleton? We have talked about of airy sex bones which are present in your axial skeleton. Now, as I had told you that our skeleton is divided into two parts: that skeleton which is present in the center of your body and that skeleton which is present in the peripheries of your body. So that is called your appendicular skeleton. Now in this lecture we will record and we will name the bones of your appendicular skeleton. So let's go for it. Let me write here, the second part of your skeleton is your appendicular skeleton. Right, if you haven't watched the first lecture, you just go and please watch that first lecture to have a concept from the beginning about skeleton. The first lecture was about the introduction of skeleton and the second lecture was about the divisions of the skeleton. Right, in that lecture we discussed about the bones of axial skeleton. Now in this lecture about appendicular skeleton. Right, yeah, welcome back friends. Here is our friend, we have him with us and we are discussing the bones, taking the help of him. So this was about your axial skeleton, the head, the cranium, the face, the vertebral column and the thoracic cage. Now about appendicular skeleton. What is appendicular skeleton? That skeleton which is attached or which is hanging with axial skeleton. That skeleton which is hanging with axial skeleton. That's so simple friends. So I'm talking about your upper extremities or upper limbs, I'm talking about your lower limbs, right, and I'm talking about shoulder girdle, right, and I'm talking about the hip girdle or the pelvic girdle, right friends. So this is about the appendicular skeleton. Now your appendicular skeleton, right, is divided into two major parts, right. It is divided into how many parts? It is divided into two major parts. And what are those? Those are the pectoral girdle, or we also say that this is also known as the shoulder girdle, right? Shoulder girdle or shoulder joint. And then there is your pelvic girdle, right. So we will discuss the bones which are present there. And one thing more which is very important, look carefully. Your appendicular skeleton is divided into two major parts, the pectoral girdle and the pelvic girdle. Along with your pectoral girdle, I will show pectoral girdle. Along with your pectoral girdle, there is the connection of your upper limb, right, on both sides. And along with the pelvic girdle, there is the connection of your lower limb. So we will discuss with the pectoral girdle, we will discuss the upper limb, right? We will discuss upper limb bones. And with pelvic girdle, we will discuss about the bones of your lower limbs, right? How many upper limbs you have? Two, right? These are upper limbs from here, right? And we will discuss all those parts of the upper limb, don't worry. And then we have the lower limb. So your lower limbs begins at the hip joint and moves down up to your feet. Right friends, so we will discuss the bones of pelvic girdle, the bones of pectoral girdle, the bones of upper limbs and the bones of lower limbs. So let's begin here. Your pectoral girdle, right, or shoulder girdle is formed by two bones. How many bones? Two bones. Look carefully. First of all, you have this key shaped bone. This is called the clavicle bone, right? And behind to your pectoral region, right, this is your scapula, right? So scapula and what? Clavicle bone, they will make your pectoral girdle. Right, so let's name their bones. The pectoral girdle consists of how many bones? It consists of 2 bones. And what are those? Those are the clavicle bone and the scapula, right? So we will discuss the anatomy of them in detail in the later lecture, but right now we are just classifying. So let's once again say your pectoral girdle is formed by clavicle bone and scapula, and there what is formed? Look carefully. There is the formation of your shoulder joint. And we will discuss it also. So this is your shoulder joint. Now shoulder joint is formed by how many bones? It is formed by 3 bones uniting together: the scapula, the clavicle, and the head of your humerus, that I will discuss later, right? So look carefully. How many clavicle bones you have? You have 2 clavicle, right? One on the right side, one on the left side. And how many scapula you have? You have 2 scapula, one on the right side and one on the left side, right friends? Then let's come to the bones of your upper limb. First of all, our upper limb is divided into 3 different regions. First, the arm region, second, the forearm region, and third, the hand, right? So we will discuss the bones of them. First, the first bone which is present there, that is your humerus. Look carefully. This is the humerus bone, right? And we will discuss it. So the first bone is your humerus, right? And how many humerus bones you have? You have 2 humerus. Yeah, one on each side, right? Right and left humerus. You have 2 humerus. Then this humerus will make your arm, right? And then moving forward, there is radius bone. There is ulna, right? How many radius bones you have? 2. How many ulna bone you have? 2, right? So look carefully. This is your humerus, there is your radius, right? And there is your ulna. So 2 bones are present in your forearm. 1 bone is present in arm, 2 bones are present in your forearm. That is the medially, which is medially present. This is ulna, which is laterally present. This is radius, right friends? And then towards your hand. Now look carefully. There are carpal bones. Carpals. So there are 8 carpals in this hand and 8 carpals in this hand. So how many total carpals you have? 16 carpal bones. So carpal bones are here, which make the wrist joint, right? Or which makes the carpo-radio-ulnar joint. Carpo-radio-ulnar joint, that I will discuss the joints later. So carpal bones are here, which are just present at the lower ends of your radius and ulna. So these are the carpal bones. You can see it also. These are the carpal bones. So 8 carpal bones. And then there are 5 metacarpals present, right? So the 5th group of bones are metacarpals. And how many metacarpals? In each hand we have 5 metacarpal bones, but total metacarpals are 5 here, which are totally 10 metacarpal bones, right? And then there are your phalanxes, or we say phalanges. And total 28 total 14 is present in one hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So these are the small bones, right? As you can see here, this one is called the phalanx. Phalanx means small finger, and all of them are this is called the phalange, right, or finger, right? This is finger. This is one finger, and this one finger is formed by 3 bones, and these bones are called the phalanx bones. Phalanx, small finger, right? So one proximal phalanx, middle phalanx, and distal phalanx. So we have 3 phalanx in these 4 fingers and 2 phalanx bones in this thumbs or pollicis indicis, right? So how many total? 12 here. 1, 2, 3, right? 3 multiplied by 4, 12, and 2, 14. 14 here, 14 here, total 28 phalanges we have. 28, or not phalanges, we have phalanx bones. Right, like this. So these were the bones of your upper extremity or your upper limb. Now let's recap it. Your appendicular skeleton is divided into 2 big regions, the pelvic girdle, pectoral girdle, and the pelvic girdle. Your pectoral girdle is also known as shoulder girdle, and this girdle is formed by the clavicle and your scapula, which I have shown here. This is clavicle bone, which is known as the beauty bone or collar bone, and this is your scapula. We will discuss it later, right? And then there is the beginning of your upper limb. So your upper limb in the arm region has a humerus, the radius, and ulna, and then there are the carpal bones, right? You have here your carpal bones, and then 5 metacarpals, and then 14 phalanx bones, which make your phalanges. So how many total bones are present in your upper extremities, right? Total bones. Look carefully. 2 and 2, 4, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? 10 plus 16, 26, 26 plus 10, 36, 36 plus 28, which will make a total of 64 bones. So you have 64 bones in your pectoral girdle and upper limb, right? So this is the total count. Here in the axial skeleton we had total 86 bones, right? And so in the pectoral girdle and the upper limb you have 64 bones, right? Now let's move towards your pelvic girdle. Look carefully. Your pelvic girdle is formed by 3 bones, right? The pelvic girdle, let me repeat, it is formed by how many bones? It is formed by 3 bones, but some books say that it is formed only by 1 bone, which is called the pelvic bone, right? Which bone? Pelvic bone. But the pelvic bone itself is composed of 3 bones. Itself is formed by how many bones? The 3 bones. And what are those? The first one is your ilium. The second one is your ischium or ischium, and then there is your pubis, right? So I will show this in the anatomy of the bone, the pelvic bone we will discuss there, right? So your pelvic bone is actually made up of ilium, ischium, and pubis. So how many bones unite together to form the pelvic bone? The 3 bones, right? So you have how many ilium? 2. Why? Because one on the right side and one on the left side. Then how many ischium bones you have? You have 2 ischium, right? And how many pubic bone you have? You have 2 pubic bones, right? On right and left side. So look carefully. There is ilium, ischium. How many ischium? 2. How many pubis you have? 2 pubis. So total 6 bones unite to make your pelvic bone. 3 on the right side, 3 on the left side, right, friends? Now let's move forward. Then what happens? This is your pelvic girdle. Now moving down, there is the beginning of your lower limb. So let's name the bones of your lower limb. As you have 2 lower limbs, right? So you have bones, and those bones begins as one femur. You have femur bone, right? So how many femur bones are there? There are two femur bones. Why? Because we have one on the right side and one on the left side, or this is also known as thigh bone or shin bone, right? Shin bone. Then you have the second one is your tibia, right? How many tibia you have? You have two tibia. I will show you all these bones. Then there is fibula, right? How many fibula you have? You have two fibula, right? And then there are the tarsals, right? So there are tarsals. How many tarsals you have? You have 7 in the right foot and 7 on the left foot, so total 14 tarsals. And then there are metatarsals. Metatarsals, right? And how many metatarsals you have? 5 in right foot and 5 in left foot, so total 10, right? Metatarsals. And then there are your phalanges, which we should not forget. So these lower limb phalanges are also formed by the same as I told you here, the phalanx bones, and there are 14 in each foot. So we say there are 28 phalanx bones, right? So how many? 28 phalanx bones, right, friends? Okay, one thing we have to mention here, as you can see here, if let me draw a diagram here. This is your femur bone, right? If this is femur, and then here is your tibia, and then here is your fibula. So one bone, which is a sesamoid bone, is present here, and this bone is called your patella, right? Patella. So how many patella you have in your lower limbs? You have 2 patella. Now let's count the total number of bones in your pelvic girdle and lower limbs. So in your pelvic girdle you have 6 bones. Then you have look carefully, 6 plus 14, 20, 20 plus 10, 30, 30 plus 28, that is about 58, 58 plus 2, 60, right? 60. So look carefully here, 60 plus 6, we have 66 bones in the lower limb and the pelvic girdle. So look carefully, you have 64 bones in your upper limb and pectoral girdle, and you have 66 bones in your pelvic girdle and lower limbs, right? And you have total number of bones 86 which are present in the axial skeleton. So let's count the total bones of your appendicular skeleton. So in your appendicular skeleton you have 64 in upper extremity and pelvic pectoral girdle, and 66 in lower extremity and pelvic girdle. So total of how much? 130 bones in your appendicular skeleton and 86 bones in your axial skeleton. Now let's make a mathematical calculation. 130 plus how much? 86. So we get about 6, 11 and 1 and 2. So 216 bones, a total 216 bones are found in human body, right? So total 216 bones. Okay friends, so this was about the divisions of your human skeleton. Yeah, let us see that what have we done. Human skeleton divisions, it is divided into axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. Now the axial skeleton once again is divided into head, thoracic cage and vertebral column, these 3 parts. And the appendicular skeleton is divided into pectoral girdle and pelvic girdle along with upper limb and lower limbs, right? So these are the bones of your axial skeleton, total 86, and these are the bones of your appendicular skeleton, a total of 130 bones. So 130 plus 86 will make a count of total 216 bones which are present in our body. So my dear friends, this was about the divisions of the human skeleton. In the next lecture we will begin and we will do a practical video, and we will see all these bones which are present in the human skeleton. So see you in the next lectures. Till then, Allah Hafiz.